Good morning. Oh, grand rising, everybody. Now look coming to love, spirit and coffee. Got my coffee here. Oh, look it. It's not even open. I can't take a drink in a closed cup. Can you imagine? Okay, so I was going to transition to tea and then it couldn't be spirit and coffee. And I thought it would be hilarious, right? If I was like spirit and coffee and a total fraud, not drinking coffee. Nope, can't do it. I will never give up my coffee. How dare you? But imagine I pretend that I was sipping or drinking coffee. I think, well, they do that, right, on some talk shows or something. Or they have a coffee cup and there's water inside. Well, I mean, that's not tricking people, but still, it's like supposed to represent coffee. Anyway, what I'm going on a tangent. Good morning. Um, this person's like got on and was like, yeah, I'm getting off. What is this girl talking about? She's crazy. I am. I'm crazy. Crazy and in contemplation. Oh my God, so much going on in life. Good morning, PBG. It's just been a journey. As you know, life is a journey. There's always something going on, something happening. But it is springtime, and so what I'm noticing is everybody's starting to come out. Everybody's starting to reconnect, um, and starting to reconnect to their friends, to their family, reconnect to their space. And it's been pretty awesome to see people out and about and actually interacting in our area. Now, I do know that in like India, it's getting bad or whatnot. So, sending a lot of love and prayers out to my friends out there, to the people that may not be are maybe getting impacted. I don't, whatever's happening there, I just give them lots of prayers and love and light, and hopefully things start to shift in a better direction for them. So there you go. So lately, I've been talking to a friend of mine who's a spiritual alchemist, and sort of just been talking about the practical use of esoteric wisdom. Again, we are really good, and I want to stress this, at conceptualizing life. We are good at logos, right? Logos, again, goes back. If we looked at the cuneiform text, if we go back and we look at history, we started to see the world, look at it, contemplate it, try to understand, try to make sense of who we are within the bigger scheme of things, right? And we started to say, how do we relate to this place? How do we communicate what we're experiencing or describe what we're experiencing? And so hieroglyphics is the way that we did it, right? So we started to come up with sort of a process of what we saw. So, when you go and you see all of the cave drawings and stuff, you'll see depictions of like people and their animals and the agriculture. And this was them writing down their history. Maybe you'll see charts of when they started to figure out agriculture and growing and all that. You'll see cycles of, the moon, or the cycles of agriculture, or different things, right? So they find these different depictions going on throughout the world. And that was the way that language started. And so we call that logos, right? Where you say, what's your logo, right? Do you have a logo for your company? A logo is a depiction of what you represent. And so each, of course, symbol represents a letter, and each letter has a tonality behind it of vibrational frequency. And they have something called gematria, and that is, I believe, Jewish, and it says that each letter has a certain meaning and tone that unlocks certain things. And when you look at vibrational frequency and you see the patterns, like if you put, they've done it, and I've talked about it before, where they put sand on a drum, they play these vibrations, and the pattern starts to shift. So we ourselves are vibrational frequency, and there's certain vibrations that can even change and shape our DNA, right? Our bodies, even. Pretty cool stuff. Now, when we start to understand that, we start to understand that vibrations and tones have an impact on who we are in life. And that's why logos, words, good morning, I don't know who just got on here, words play a big role, and vibration and tone plays a big role in the way that life is constructed and the way that we engage with it. But here's the deal, we can get stuck in logos. And if we get stuck in logos, we're not generating or creating what we want in life. We get stuck. We get stuck in a time loop. Okay. This is important because we can be stuck in logos, talking, writing, but not necessarily doing and applying. Okay. Who's on here on Facebook? Say good morning. I can't see who's on here for some reason. I don't know why it's not doesn't show me. It drives me bonkers. Hopefully your message will show up. But the logos that we get stuck in, right? Good morning, PPG. If we get stuck in logos, we get stuck in a time trap. So, in other words, we start talking about something and we talk about it and we talk about it and we talk about it, and we never put any kind of movement towards it. We never move the needle towards what it is that we want to manifest. And so that's how people get stuck, right? You see people, they get stuck in sort of talking about what they want to do in life, and then they never really manifest what they want to do. And that's why, because we get stuck sometimes in that time loop of logos, of talking about it, conceptualizing it. It sounds good, and we could talk all day long. Like I could sit here and do Spirit and Coffee all day and talk and talk and talk. I can meet up with my friends, talk and talk and talk. But just because I meet up with my friends and I talk about what I want to do, and then I go to the next person and talk about what I want to do, or I go to the next person and I'm talking concept, but not really doing anything, then I get stuck. And really what happens, good morning, JFA, good morning, badass, when, badass, like that. But then when, what happens is we get stuck into the logos, right? And when we get stuck into the conceptualizing and the words and all that, and not actually putting drive or action behind it, we perpetuate this cycle of time that we get stuck in. We get stuck there, and it's almost like a spiral where we can't get out of it. And it's almost like we're stuck, and we're like, we have all these great ideas, but we can never bring them to life. And that's because we're stuck in the dialogue rather than the movement and the action that comes with it. We're waiting for the perfect time. We're waiting for the right moment. We're waiting for everything to just align perfectly so that we can actually then go and do the things we need to do or create the things we want to create. It's like, oh, when this happens, or when that, or when this. No, just get on there and do it. I didn't wait forever for Spirit and Coffee. I just did it, right? It was a calling, and I just did it. There wasn't a right time. This is the right time. Right now is the right time for you. This very second. And this second, and the second, and second is the right time for you. So putting action and putting it into motion and allowing yourself to step outside of the mind and put it into the body, into some form of creativity that you want. So if it's a company that you want to create, or if it's a piece of art that you've been trying to work for, or if you're wanting to do a podcast, let's say that, you're like, I want to start my own podcast, and you've just been sitting out waiting. Well, waiting for the right moment or the right subjects, or I need to have this before I do that. You end up saying 20 years later, I'm still trying to start, and you still haven't. In other words, you've got to just kind of jump in sometimes. Sometimes you're not going to have everything you need or all the information you need. And that's how you learn. When I first started the podcast, first of all, I wasn't even on Podbean or all of the outlets that I'm on at this point. I wasn't on everything. I was doing my own personal Facebook Live, and I just did it, right? I just went for it. And then I started to expand and I started to grow and I started to try this and try that and try this and try that. And then before you knew it, I was like, oh, okay. I started to grow and I learned from my mistakes. And sometimes I didn't learn from my mistakes, right? There's some things that I didn't learn. So it's us allowing ourselves to get out of that conceptualization and into action. Start to move. Do something that puts you in motion. I can get stuck in idea land all day long. And trust me, I have a lot of ideas, as I'm sure you do, where we get stuck in this. And then we talk about it, right? We talk about theories and we talk about this and we talk about that. And there's really no action behind any of it. And we feel like, well, we didn't accomplish anything. And that's where that scarcity comes in, right? Where we're like, lack and limitation. Like I don't have enough or something's missing in my life. Well, what's missing is the doing. There has to be some doing behind it. There has to be some action in order for things to move. We are the ones who set in action in motion, right? We're the ones who push something forward. And if it's not right, we'll know it and we pivot and we change directions. So you can write on a piece of paper, like the things I'm committed to, and then ask yourself, how much of that particular time am I using towards just talking about it? How much time am I actually using applying something to make it happen? Like doing something to make it happen. And sort of look at it. And you can take each one of them apart and you can say, okay, I'm in dialogue for too long. I'm stuck in dialogue. And I need to get out of dialogue and into action. I've dialogued too much already. Right? Because you talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and then it's like, well, where is the action? The action has to happen. You actually have to move. And if you mess up, oh well, you learned. That's part of it, right? Failing forward, or is what they call it. You've got to learn to fail. You're not going to be perfect at it, of course not. Like when I started kung fu, there's still stuff. I mean, I still suck. But I'm a beginner always, right? I go in and I'm a beginner, and then I try again and I try again and I try it again. I try to refine and get better. And at the end of the day, it's a practice, and I'm setting into motion, but I'm refining it every time that I practice. I didn't go in there understanding how to do whatever form, right? So we learn these different forms. So this is just an example. Go in, they teach you these animal forms. As I'm doing these animal forms, even, and they record them. So they record them live. So I'll go back and watch myself and I laugh because I don't know what I'm doing. But, I could wait for the right moment. I could just keep on putting it off and putting it off and putting it off and wait for the right moment to when I'm more physically in shape. No, you've got to just jump into it. So I jump in and I look like poop when I'm starting. And then I continue to practice and practice and refine and refine and refine and refine and refine over and over and over again. But the practice that I put in, the effort that I put in results in something. But I had to start somewhere. I didn't start knowing it. But for someone who just steps in, right? Let's say you were a new person and let's say you were going to come to Kung Fu again. This is just an example. And you came in and you said, okay, I'm going to try this. And then you see me do it. Do I expect that you're going to do it like me the first time? No. That wouldn't even make sense. Right? It doesn't even make sense. Or that, like myself, I look at the elders or the ones who've been there for a long time, and I don't look like them either. But a beginner's not going to look like me, just like I don't look like them, and it's okay. I have to start somewhere. The action has to start somewhere, even if you look funky when you start. Things evolve, right? And that's what you do, is you learn how to expand, how to grow, how to refine. But if you stay in concept talking about it and thinking that you're waiting for the perfect moment, it's never going to be a perfect moment. There's no such thing as a perfect moment. It's, again, thinking about people who say, oh, I'm going to wait to start my diet. Okay. And I don't even like diet. Let's just say my lifetime changed, right? Like, I'm going to change my lifestyle for a healthier lifestyle. But they're like, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until after Mother's Day. I'm going to wait until, oh, wait, now there's this thing and that thing. And there's always something, right? And that's, my trainer talks about this a lot. And I love that. She's like, it's never going to be the right time. Well, the holidays come and this and that, and I'll start after this. No, just start. There's no perfect time. This is the perfect time. Right now is the perfect time. Start now. And then a year from now, you'll be glad you started now. You'll be like, wow, look at all the things that I've accomplished because I started now. So next year, when I started Kung Fu, I just said, okay, that's it. I'm going in. I'm doing it. Why? Because I understand the process. When you understand this process, you know that you're going to be a beginner. You're going to look like a fool, and that's okay. You can even laugh at yourself. I do. When I start something new, I know I'm new. I don't need to be the expert. That's the thing. We think we have to be an expert at something, and you don't. You start to become the expert because you jump into it and you become the beginner. You're the beginner of something. You're starting something new. Good morning, to those who just joined on Podbean. PBG, KDN, just Reynolds, JS Reynolds, I guess it is. Arian, I don't know, Sean. So again, we have to jump into it and some action needs to happen. And I think my computer's going to die because I thought I charged it and I guess I didn't. Okay, give me just a second, you guys. This is going to be weird. I'm going to get off camera for a second. And I don't know why this plug doesn't work, but it doesn't. It's driving me nuts. There it goes. So it charged. Hi. I don't know. I'm back again. Okay, so we've got to do something, right? You've got to jump into it. Doesn't need to be perfect. You'll refine it as you continue doing it, as you continue to work on it. Then you refine. So again, laugh at yourself. That's what I do. I start a new project. I start something new. I know I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I understand that. I'm a beginner. Okay, if we looked at it from the spiritual alchemic process, if we looked at it in the form of the tarot, the Fool card is the first card, and the Fool card is the card that you just don't know what you don't know. You're just kind of like, oh, I'm here, and then the journey starts. But the Fool will jump off the ledge and trust that the universe is going to catch him. But they're not even thinking about that. They're just going to jump right in. Okay, so get out of the head and stop waiting for the perfect time is what I'm saying, because there's not going to be a perfect time. Start whatever it is that you want to start now and enjoy it and laugh at yourself. I tell people all the time, never done this. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to, and then they start to remember when they first started. Well, they didn't know what they were doing either. There's very few prodigies that just like playing piano, right? We have these prodigies that just all of a sudden they're freaking playing masterpieces, but that doesn't happen with most people. There might be things that you were a prodigy at, right? Hey, Ben. Claire? Ben? I don't know what that is. So you're going to make mistakes, and so get started now. That's part of the process, is like you got to start. So talking about it is going to put you in a time loop if you continue to talk about it. And you're not going to be able to break that loop until you actually put some motion behind the words. You've got to put action behind the words, or it ain't ever going to happen. People are like, well, where do I start? Just start. Do something. It might come out pretty jacked up, but that's okay. You're going to refine and get better. That's why I like, again, I've said it before, why I like Kung Fu, because Kung Fu means time and effort. It takes time and effort to get good at anything. You can't, most people aren't just going to be naturally good at it. It just, you have to practice. You've got to put some action behind it. But starting off, yeah, I laughed. Oh my God. I go back and watch me and I'm like, oh my God, look at me trying to do this. It's hilarious. It's funny. And then I got better and better and better and better and better. And I'm still refining. And someone who walks through the door might look at me and be like, I can't do that. I think I'm going to wait to start until whatever. No, start now, laugh at yourself as you make the mistakes and get better and refine it. And then we get better and better and better. And that's what Mason is about, masonry. So when they talk about Masons, that's what it's about, right? If you looked at what the Masons talked about, even if you looked at, because Masons, really it's about architecture and design, right? Like they literally were stone carvers to begin with. They had this skill and they understood that. And but then they took the concept and they applied it to um, the self, the soul, and then it became this whole private order of the Masons instead order of the Phoenix. It became this private club type thing. And when you look at them and you go and you see, that is what it's about. It's about taking a stone and actually carving out your masterpiece. But the stone has a masterpiece laying within it. Okay. It has a masterpiece within it, and you're the masterpiece. You yourself are the masterpiece. You yourself can carve out the masterpiece within you. Okay. So Masons and cards are evil. Okay, if that is what you believe it to be, Sean the dude. But again, masonry and cards were not created for evil. That's not what they were created for. So go do some reading in history about it. Masonry and cards are based on the esoterics and the spiritual alchemy. Now, in the hands of people who are manipulative, yes, it turns into something that can be seen as evil, if that's what you want to call it, or the shadow side or the dark arts. So it can be used that way. But masonry and cards also have the light side. So what we have is the duality within each of those systems. Okay. Masonry by itself is a process, and so are the cards. They're neither good, right, wrong, or bad, or evil or good. It's the person that uses them and how they use them that will determine if it's evil or not. And I would say shadow side. I mean, I don't use the word evil, but if that's what you use, that's fine. So the cards and Mason it's not a good, bad, right, or wrong thing, or an evil or good thing. It's a process. And how the process is applied, right, will determine the outcome. And I think this is the distinction where people get confused. They say cards are evil. Cards aren't evil. Cards are a process. And they mostly don't know because people don't do research on this stuff. They don't do their own understanding and research on what cards are, right? They're only told by individuals, this is evil. And so they believe it to be evil. Oh, those are fortune tellers, and that's evil. That's not even a fortune telling thing. Cards aren't meant to tell the future. But people who read it in that way may be using it for manipulation. And then they are the ones who are bringing in that energy to the cards. The cards themselves depict the natural process of life. Okay. And Masons, right? When we talk about Masons, they literally were they were stone carvers, actually, if you go back and do your history. Good morning, Pamela. But most people won't do their own history checks. You know, they'll just listen to the popular media or whatever. But if you go back in time, these particular processes were there to help people transcend into the light of God, right? And to touch God, to be able to connect to their divine self. Or their and then they bastardized it and they used it in a way that was for manipulation. They used it to control. And then so people think it's evil, of course, because people can use it that way. And let's just say that people have. But when you look at the process of masonry and you see that these stone carvers learned how to chisel away their art, they started to apply that to their own particular life. How do I sort of manifest a life of, you know, righteousness? Okay. Now, again, there's that distinction between righteousness and self righteousness. So we have the self-righteous who use it for their own benefit, and then we have righteous who use it for the benefit of all humanity. So that's why I'm doing this particular podcast too. It's because people they're misguided in a lot of ways. Popular media is going to misguide you because they don't want you to understand the natural process. How do you think these people keep control? They tell you, oh, it's evil, stay away from it. They're using it to control us. So why wouldn't you want to understand it? So researching it, and rather than turning your face, and it's up to you to do or not do it, do your own research and go, and you'll see the history. That Masons were the actual stone carvers of the world. They're the ones who became the architects of the world. They understood how to build. They were the builders. So masonry, now they did bastardize it and it became something else, but they were trying to transcend the soul into pure light. People don't know this stuff though. Good morning, Linga. They don't know this stuff because they don't do research. Do your research or don't. It's up to you. It's totally up to you. So I don't know if you're still on here, Sean. You're probably not. And maybe you are. I don't know. Typically, people who feel like something's evil, they get away. They're like, I don't want to listen to that. And it's hard for some people. Some people are afraid, right? They're afraid to dig deeper. They have this one way of seeing life, and that's it. And there's nothing else. Do I think cards? Oh, I guess you got on a little bit later. Um, Linga, when I started talking. No, cards are not evil. Cards are a process, but people believe they're evil because they were told they were evil. And here's what's happened. And it's okay, Linga. It's funny because people don't realize. Here's another thing, and I wish Sean was still on here because I want to tell the listeners out here. I want you to understand, and I've talked about this on my podcast before. People say, "Oh, tarot is evil." Right? Tarot cards are evil. This is evil. Okay, I'm going to give you guys some history and maybe it'll shock you for those who don't know. But the 52 card playing deck is based on the tarot. And the tarot has the major arcana and the minor arcana. The major arcana is the process of the soul and how to transcend or transform, or how to go through the alchemic process, spiritual alchemic process of the soul in order to connect and create your divine self. You become basically the philosopher's stone, right? You learn to become the alchemy. You learn to become the beauty in life and to give back to humanity, right? And to get over these primal things that we have, right? Yes, there you go. Thanks, Linga. Facts, spades, swords, yes. Hearts, cups, absolutely. So Linga knows. Now, here's the deal. What they did, so people will go to the casino, they'll say that the tarot is evil, but they'll go to the casino or they'll play poker. That's the evil part. And I don't mean evil, but that's the manipulation and the shadow part of it. And they don't even know they're engaging in it, but they won't get a tarot reading, but they'll go play poker. Okay, and I laugh about this because people don't know. So the 52, you know how they say, okay, there's a saying, they say that you're not playing with the full deck. You literally are not playing with the full deck. And now they're taking your money. See, they've put you in a perpetual cycle of hypnosis with the casinos, with playing cards, with gambling. Vegas, all of that is a bastardization of the chemical process and natural law. The cards are depicting a process of natural law. They don't depict evil. Now, individuals who read the cards can use them to manipulate. So people, because we are flawed as humans, bring all of our shit to the cards sometimes. And those are the individuals that are doing it for their own selfish reasons. But then you have light workers who use it to help support individuals to get past. It's almost like a counseling session. They're not predicting futures. They're giving you a diagnostic. And I like the way my friend says it, a diagnostic of what's going on in the brain, in your life. It's not to predict the future. People get it so twisted. But guess what? They've done that on purpose. They don't want you to know the process. You guys have only, if you play poker, you've only been playing with half the deck. Not even half the deck. You're playing with the minor arcana. You're missing the most important part, the major arcana. So when people say cards are evil, they're not evil. Cards are a process. Just like spiritual alchemy is not evil. Spiritual alchemy is a process. Okay? There's a distinction there. Yes, tarot is a medium. Yes, thanks, Lingo. We know the process internally and intuitively, but forget somehow. Yes. And it's not that and part of it is that we forget, but the other part is that there are forces out there who literally I'll just say it and people might get upset, but the Vatican, and this is history, you guys can go back, they made it wrong. They killed people. They murdered people. If they were doing tarot, they were in trouble. They'd get imprisoned. And they're the ones who took out, I mean, I'll bet you if you looked at the Vatican's budget, money, and followed it, they probably own casinos. But people have forgotten, they've gotten amnesia, and they've forgotten that the tarot is a process, and it has nothing to do with anything other than a process. There's a distinction. And that's why I do this, because I want to wake people up to understand really, what are you paying attention to? What are you reading? What research are you doing? Where are you getting your information from? Go back. Read the Emerald Tablets. Read about Hermes Trismegistus. Understand the alchemic process. The alchemic process was bastardized. We are so, okay, and then I'll go a little rant here if we talk about evil. Okay, let's look at, let's go a little further here and we'll talk about pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals are the shadow side. Pharmaceuticals are a bastardization of spiritual alchemy, taken directly from the process of tarot and the Emerald Tablets. People don't know that. Chemistry is a bastardization of tarot. All tarot is our internal process. We are the elixir. We have all the answers within us. What they did is they took the process of alchemy and they applied it to chemistry. So they start to manipulate natural law to create pharmaceuticals, which they now feed us as poison. Hey, I didn't make it up. Just go read about it. Y'all can do your own research. I'm not saying it's right, wrong, good, or bad. It's not a conspiracy. Just go read about it. You could just read about it. You've got to understand where it came from in order to understand, especially when people say these words, when they say, well, it's evil. What do you mean by evil, first of all? Do you know what evil is? What does that even mean to you? Well, people will say, well, that's demonic forces. Sure. Well, what does that mean? What does that truly mean? See, Mason is a process. And they tried, and I believe that they tried to make it a process for good, and people made it quote unquote evil. People bastardized it. We, something that was pure and beautiful, we made it evil. We humans. So when we talk about these forces, yeah, we let these forces take over our minds so that we can poison what? Other people. There's this manipulation happening at a bigger level. Why? Because control. Why? Because scarcity. Why? Because I want more and it's mine. But it's not. It's nobody's. Give unto Caesar's what is Caesar's. Give unto God what is God's. Spiritual alchemy, the process of tarot. Hey, Katia. Good morning. The process of tarot is the transcendence of the soul to connect and your personal connection to God. How do I connect to God? How do I connect to the deeper, beautiful side of myself? That's what tarot offers. And people don't know this. Go do your research. So I want you to go online if you're interested. And those of you who are on here probably know this already. Go online and find out about the tarot and ask, is the 52 playing card deck based on the tarot? And it'll say yes. It's the minor arcana. And you want to talk about evil. They've taken a process, a beautiful process to support us to connect to our God self, to give back to humanity, to reach that altruism where we love people of all walks of life. And they've bastardized it and put it into a casino where people are now hypnotized by machines, lose their houses because they've gambled it all away. Lose all of their material because they go and gamble it all away, because they're hypnotized, because they weren't given the full deck to play with. They were only given the minor arcana. The major arcana was totally taken out completely. Why? To keep us blind. Why? Control. Oh, they won't go play tarot, but they'll play the casino. And you don't even know you're playing tarot yourself. Anytime you've played cards, you're playing tarot. People don't know. They don't know. They don't even know. They have zero idea. If you're a carpenter, you're playing mason. If you do woodwork, stonework, if you dig in the ground, if you create things, you're a mason. That's what a mason is. But people won't do the research. So then they get on and they say something's evil. And literally, what do you mean by evil? Ay, Dios mío. And I imagine, good morning, Suzanne. Good morning. Oh, what do you say? Go harder because it's easier if we are dumb. Yeah, easier if those in control. So is Mason linked to sacred geometry? Yeah, it is. It's also, if we think about it, I think Masonry people also understood physics. They had to, because when we look at if we go back into ancient history and we look at these ancient civilizations, right? And I will say this, I love Ancient Aliens, okay? People say, well, Ancient Aliens is not true, blah, whatever. I don't care. You know what they do in Ancient Aliens that I love? They tell me about places I never knew about. They talk about the stonework of these ancient civilizations. And that's what I love about it. There's all of these places around the world where there are huge, huge stones, right? And these stones were lifted and moved, and they don't know how. We don't know how. We don't know what technology was used back in the ancient time, but they were the masons. They had an understanding of physics, of geometry. They had this understanding of how to use vibration and frequency. That wisdom is still around, but will they let us use it? If they knew that you knew how to lift big 50 billion ton stones and create these huge things that they did in the ancient past, you probably wouldn't be alive. That's all I'm going to say. They don't want us to understand that technology. Those and who's they? Those who are in control. There's people in controlling this information. The ones who have this information, Tesla, you guys can just go back and see. You know, you can go back and see Tesla understood how to harness energy, and they didn't want anybody to know. Are you kidding me? They don't want that information in the hands of the people. You've got to do your own digging and your own research and your own understanding of this world. And I'll give you the key. It's all within. Come to know yourself and you will know the world. Come to know yourself and you will know God. Come to know yourself and you will know your brothers and sisters. Why? Because everything lives within you. And this is what the great teachers of all ages have said. And you know how I know? Because I know myself. I know me. I know me better than anybody knows me. I'm my best friend. And as I know myself, I know you. I know God. Know yourself. Go know who you are. You become the mason of your life. You become the alchemy of your life. You become the tarot process. You are the tarot process. So I imagine Sean is not on here, but that whole lecture was for you to understand. And I hope you're on here, and I hope you open your minds, and I hope that the individuals that are on here and are listening and understanding are open their mind. And please do research. Don't take my word for everything that it is. Go do your own research. What do you know of Einstein's final moments when he came to the conclusion about God? I don't know. I mean, I did a little bit of research on Einstein. What I will say, and this is what I'm going to say, not just about Einstein, but anybody who's a part of this work, anybody who is a alchemist, and we all are, trust me. I can tell you that, good morning, Psalms. I can tell you right now that Einstein, Tesla, Da Vinci, Apollo, Aristotle, and it bothers me that they're all men, okay? I need to find women who were all a part of this as well, because it's very patriarchal. When I say it, I'm like, because those are all the people that are written in his story. We need her story now so we can have a full picture. But anyway, all of these individuals never felt like they fully finished the work that they wanted to do here on this planet, because life is a journey. Life is a journey, and we never truly, I think, finish what we want to finish, because we're always striving. And I love that. I had a conversation, and I'm going to end this way. I had a conversation with a friend about striving, that if we stop striving, we die. And that's why we're always striving. When we strive, we're alive. We're striving to live. We're striving to create. We're striving to leave our legacy. We're striving to be more. We're calling forth more, right? We're wanting to expand out and leave this thing so we never feel like we're finished. And our masterpiece never feels like it's complete. The Mona Lisa, he said it wasn't complete. And in fact, Da Vinci, when I went, so in Da Vinci, I went to this art gallery of Da Vinci. I mean, his studio where he did all, like, he was a badass. I'll just tell you that. Da Vinci was pretty cool. He created all these inventions that I didn't even know, but they were pissed at him. Like, people would get pissed at Da Vinci because he would start something and not finish it. He would be like, because he wanted to understand how everything worked. If he was going to do a statue, he wanted to start with the very fibers of what the bone looked like. So he would go and he would cut the animals and look at how the bone was constructed. And he would start to construct the bone from the inside out so that it looked as real as it could possibly look. And he left things half done because then he would find something else that was more interesting. And he'd be like, ooh, well, what about this? Well, what the human body? He was cutting cadavers and doing all kinds of stuff he wasn't supposed to. He could have got in trouble for that. They wasn't supposed to be doing that. And he did it anyway. That's why you have the picture of the body and everything that he did. So, you know, I think that's the end of the, you know, it's like we never finish what the masterpiece is never done, right? Yeah, the Da Vinci man is pretty badass. Da Vinci did so much that I didn't even realize because everybody just talks about Mona Lisa, and I didn't even know why the Mona Lisa was so important in my whole life. I was like, why is this picture? Who cares? Because people have told me I looked like Mona Lisa. It was kind of funny, which they say is him in drag. Some people have that theory, but I don't know if I believe that. And I'm like, wow, I guess I look like a man. Okay, so anyway, Da Vinci. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. What I understood about the Mona Lisa, and I'll end here, is that the way that he drew or painted the Mona Lisa was a art form that is not even used today. And he was the master of this art form. And he used tiny brush strokes, tiny, eensy weensy to build upon, to make it look like it was real. And also what it did is that it looked like there was a shadow and a light casted and a shadow casted on the face. So no matter which way you put it, it looks like a light is reflecting on the face. So he built up from the bottom to the top this picture with tiny brush strokes, tiny, eensy weensy. Pretty cool. Telling you. He was an alchemist and he was a mason. He understood the works, the great work. You want to do something magnificent in your life and you have that calling, go read about alchemy. Okay? Just read about it. I'm not saying you have to be a spiritual alchemist because you are anyway, regardless. It's just the process of nature. Literally, I can peg it to that. Spiritual alchemy is the process of nature. It's natural law, which we call God's law. When we manipulate it and try to make it something other than that, that's when we quote unquote have the evil, the manipulation. Okay. All right. Good subject. I'm glad that person got on here and said that it's evil. I think they left anyway, but that's okay. So there you have it. Thank you, Linga, for getting on here. Cheers to you, buddy. Oh, and happy Mother's Day to your baby mama. Baby mama. To your wife. And happy Mother's Day to all those who are on here as well. Namaste. Good morning, Kung Fu sister. So I love you guys so much. And I'm going to continue talking about this. I think people have a wrong idea about alchemy. And I want to change the mindset. I want people to really, truly understand what they're talking, what I'm talking about, first of all, and what it is. But go do your research. Go online and check it out. Go, especially the cards. Go look at the cards. Go do your research about the cards and ask. 52 playing deck. So every time you play cards now, if you think it's evil, then don't play cards. Don't go to the casino because you're playing tarot. If you think it's evil, you're playing tarot. There you go. And you're not even playing with the full deck. You're only playing with half the deck. Not even half the deck. You're playing with the major arcana. You're just not playing with the full deck. Okay, so there you go. So have a great day. I love you guys. And I'll see you tomorrow. Have a magical, magnificent, marvelous, mystical, mystic, magnificent. I think I said that already. Monday. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.